Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Lisa Nichols of Tira Strategies. Lisa, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Hi, thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, this is going to be fun.
No problem. Super excited to have you on as well too. And before we jumped in, I want to read a little bit more about Lisa so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Lisa is a consummate networker and community builder who intuitively understands how to form genuine connections with people in real life and online. After a career holding customer-focused positions across a variety of industries, in 2009, Lisa founded Tira Strategies, a consultancy dedicated to helping small business owners navigate the complex and dynamic world of social media. Lisa leverages her deep expertise in relationship building and communications to help her clients form meaningful relationships with customers online, building communities of loyal and devoted customers. Lisa, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I am so ready. Yes.
Let's do it.
All right.
So to kick everything off, I wanted to, I guess, kind of start in the beginning. Could you take us through your CEO story? What led you to get started with your business?
Sure. To make this brief, because it's a longer story, but 10 years ago, Facebook wasn't as huge as it is now. And I was actually working at a local newspaper, and we were doing some social media campaigns on behalf of our clients. And when the paper decided to close, as many of newspapers have, gone that way, I was trying to figure out what to do, and I loved that job so much. So I was looking around and realized that I couldn't find anything I loved as much, and decided I would just open my own company and help businesses with social media because they didn't know how to use it, and I did. And back then, you could put up a Facebook page and people followed you like that because, oh my gosh, it's so new and it's so different now. It's amazing. So 10 years later, I've just the business went in a few different directions, but I realized that I love to focus on social media. And so that's where I really have all of my time focused on social media and helping people create a social media presence that really draws clients to them.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, and it's definitely so powerful. And it's funny you said that because one of my last jobs is I worked with Patch, and there was a lot of people that were former Patchers that actually went
Yeah.
into a lot of digital marketing, and a lot of it is because, and definitely correct me if you find the same thing, where a lot of it's a lot more, obviously a lot of the skills are transferable, but also that story piece is so important. So when you have somebody that has that background and is able to showcase you in the best light, it really goes to another level.
It does. And so funny, small world about that, but my boss who owned the newspaper actually went to work for the Reston Patch for a while. And so I was and one of our reporters went there too. So yeah, I was pretty tied into Patch when it was going on also. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a super small world. And I know that a lot of people, end up transferring into different type of digital marketing spheres. And I know it's you can rub shoulders with a lot of people that are former patchers, it
Yeah.
seems, are in the industry.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I know you touched on it a little bit about, your business and how you serve your clients. Could you drill down a little bit deeper and let us know a little bit about that experience and how you serve the clients you work with?
Sure. So most of my clients I do social media management where it's really just done for them. I go in, look at what they've got going on now, look at their platforms they're on, their content, and create a strategy based on what they want to get out to the world about their business and what the world wants to hear from them about their business. And then we implement it. So we create content, we create graphics, and we start putting content out there and monitor it, engage it, create engagement among other businesses, other people, and do that. So it's really designed to boost their visibility in front of their target audience. But I also sometimes will go into companies, larger companies, and just create a strategy for 3 to 6 months. And then they have people who implement that. And then I also do workshops about social media, which I love doing because put me in front of an audience with a microphone and I am just golden. So I'll do workshops and speaking engagements. And those are the big things that I do for clients. And, it's just so much fun. I love being able to look at what they've got going on with social media and create in making corrections that work, because when you really look at it, a lot of people are doing the same things wrong over and over again. And so it's just taking the best practices and shifting their focus.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love it's music. The word visibility is always music to my ears because I think so many times, and I'm sure you experience this as well too, is a lot of times clients and people have really phenomenal products or services or things that they're doing, but they can't get it out to as many people and being able to understand the nuances. I love how you have a different tiered approach to being able to help serve clients because I think that being able to get your name, your business, what you stand for, and all those things around your story out to the world is such a huge thing that people will need to take advantage of.
Yeah, and that's a good point that you bring up too. I always say that more people would buy our stuff if they knew what we did. So what I
Mm,
have to do is help people see what other businesses do so they buy their stuff. Like people just don't understand it. And I love to take businesses that have kind of a weird thing that nobody gets and make that into
mm.
something that the average person would understand. So yeah, that is just, I think the commonality among a lot of businesses. The more people who know what you do, the more they're likely to buy from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you the amount of times I've heard entrepreneurs and business owners say that, oh, I didn't know you existed. I wish I knew that you were around. And a lot of that is because maybe they need a little boost in your social media strategy so that people know
Yeah.
exactly what you do and how you do it so
Right.
well.
I didn't know you did that. Who knew, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Why did you tell me that?
Yeah.
I'm your
I
best
don't know.
friend. I thought you
Only,
knew.
only on my website. I post about it all the time, but okay, nobody knows.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's so important to kind of be where the people are. So that's why I love, everything that you do. You help people to kind of understand that and understand how best to kind of leverage that. So what do you consider to be what I call your secret sauce or the thing you feel kind of sets you apart or your organization that makes you unique?
Yeah, I think I have two things that set me apart. First of all, I think I'm really good at going into a business and taking this weird thing they do and making it palatable so that their audience really is interested in it. So a lot of my businesses have services or products that are really not normal, and so it's hard for people to understand what it is and it's hard to translate it to social media. And I think what I do well is go in and say, okay, well, we can't post about your thing that you sell all the time because people would be turned off and that would get boring, but we can post about these other things that relate to your business and help them understand more about what you do. And I think I'm really good at that. And I think I'm really good at building a community rather than just followers. So we focus on engagement, but we focus on getting people invested into what you sell rather than just liking it. So we create, for lack of a better word, brand loyalists and evangelicals about your brand so that they really just are gung ho and 100% behind you.
Nice. I absolutely love that, and I don't know if you find that your background in the newspaper industry kind of helps you with that because I almost feel like people can get behind a story, really knowing what a brand stands for and how exactly they make decisions based off of that. And I almost feel like obviously our services and the products that we do are an extension of that, but I almost think that so many times people kind of have that on the back burner about their story when really it's something that people want to know and be able to stand behind and join that community.
Yeah, and I think it's hard for people to be in front of a camera or in front or on social media and be that vulnerable. So
Mm.
that's always the battle I have. And the funny thing you said, people want to know we stand for something too. The days of being neutral are over. For better or worse, people want to know what you stand for, what your business stands for. And I think it's something like 80% of the public wants to know what you stand for. So it doesn't have to be political, but you do need to stand for something and to be really upfront about what you stand for.
Yeah, and I almost feel like the consumers are so are a lot more knowledgeable, I should say now, to know that their dollar does kind of support this or doesn't support that, and to be empowered in terms of knowing exactly what you can do with your dollar in order to support organizations that stay in alignment with what you care about or don't stay in alignment with what you care about.
Exactly. And those are your ideal customers anyway, the ones that you
Yeah.
align with. So those, don't worry about alienating others because they're not your ideal people. And we've all worked with them. And so look for the ones who are your ideal and who align with your values. And then you'll be a happier business person too.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be a win-win-win for everybody. And,
Right.
and I love that you're able to kind of translate that for people through the social media channels. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
There are a couple of things. When we talked about this, I thought, okay, what is it? So, but my top thing is the Pomodoro technique. I tend to, left to my own devices, go to the work that I like doing the most. So, excuse me, I would end up spending hours creating graphics in Canva or, doing fun stuff and letting all the other stuff slide. But with Pomodoros, it's a technique where you put a task in a 25-minute block, set a timer. When that time is up, you're done with that part of the task and you have a 5-minute break and move on to something else. So now I just put all of my weekly tasks into Pomodoros throughout my week and I tackle them. So the stuff that I hate doing, I put in there and I can do anything for 25 minutes. So it just makes me a lot more productive every day, every week, every month. And because I can put my long-term goals and my, the things I need to do for planning in there, then it helps me make the time to plan and to have goals, because without goals, you've got nothing, or without working towards your goals. So Pomodoros have been life-changing for me. They are amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I've heard of Pomodoro's. I feel like I've heard the word, but I didn't really understand exactly what it is. Is it like an app, or is it something that is just a practice or something you do on a regular basis?
Yeah, it's a technique. So Pomodoro actually is a sauce, right? It's spaghetti sauce. But
Okay, maybe that's
yeah,
where I
but
heard it from.
beyond
I
that,
love
yeah,
spaghetti sauce. That's
probably.
probably why.
But yeah, but if you look up Pomodoro Technique, and I don't remember the person who created it, it's not anything you can buy. I don't think it's just a technique to do your time block. So they may
Mm.
have built it up to do tasks, but I just use it the way it is. And so sometimes I'll put things in two Pomodoro blocks, like two 15-minute blocks if it's a bigger task. But again, it's just the productivity for me is so much better. I'm just not I don't know. I think I have trouble focusing on things. So this just really helps me knock out my work, make sure my clients are happy, do my long-term planning, do my short-term planning, and get everything done. And it also helps me with my family life. So before this, I was bleeding into the evenings and my son was upset with me. And so now I actually have it like at 5 o'clock, start dinner, or, I'm working till 4, I'm working till 6, and then I put it away. So it's been super helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there's a lot of power for it. I feel like there's even studies that say when you start to say, I'm going to do this in this amount of time, you start to figure out, or you become superhuman and you get it done in that amount of time. And I think so many times if we're like, oh, I need to get this done by the end of today, then it starts to take the whole entire day. But the amount of time that you have, those constraints allow you to really figure out how to make things happen.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, you're correct. Yes, yes. Yeah, I've had tasks that could be done an hour and the day later I'm looking at it going, I really spent 8 hours. How did I spend 8 hours? Well, I checked my email and I did this and I did that. So yeah, it just helps me be much more productive. So that is my big hack as a
I,
CEO.
I absolutely love that. I'm glad to hear I'm also not the only one as well too. So that helps me feel a lot better. And so now I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO nugget. And this could be a word of wisdom or a piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
So there again are a bunch of them, but I think for me, my big thing is to find your tribe and hold on to them. And I think we use the word tribe a lot in terms of the relationships we build. But I think having been in business for 10 years and over the years, just having friends come and go, I think finding those people that support you no matter what, both in business and in your personal life it's just crucial to being a successful business person. The ones who share your values, the ones who, when you have a bad day, you can go crying to and they lift you up. And just, I think it makes all the difference in the world to have that amazing support network. And there are days when I have a gratitude journal and I'll sit back and be grateful for the people that are in my tribe, for my people, for my sisters in my business organization. I just am so grateful for the people who are in my life because they are so high quality and it takes a long time to develop those relationships and they tend to happen naturally, but just find your tribe and hold on to them and and be a good supporting person and friend to them also.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that goes, so deep, because I think so many times, in business, we talk a lot about, numbers and, strategy and goals and all those things. Of course, they're of extreme importance, but we so many times forget about that human aspect of business and being able to have that tribe that you spoke to, because a lot of times if you're not, I guess, whole, or at least supported from a relationship standpoint, or you don't feel your cup is full, so many times that fills into, your clients and fills in the work that you do. And you're not always showing up as your best self. So having and finding that tribe of those people that you can kind of lean on or talk to, or just, express anything with, allows you that opportunity to show up in your best self in so many different other ways.
It does. And I think it helps you grow your business and make it through, as a business owner, the tough times. And then the resources are amazing. I can always
Mhm.
look to somebody who I know for something that I need, or, it's just gosh, it makes all the difference in the world for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Success is a team sport, they say. So you want to make sure you
Yes.
have the right team and tribe in place.
Right.
And so now I want to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Lisa, what does being a CEO mean to you?
So I love this question. And again, had to give a lot of thought to it. But I think for me, I really subscribe to the idea of servant leadership. And similar to many of the organizations I volunteer my time to, where I am a leader to help others. And so as a CEO, that carries through everything I do. I can choose to use my time as a business owner to help other businesses in any way that I want, whether it's to volunteer, whether it's to offer products, whether it's to support them through, low cost offerings. So I just love that. For me, it allows me the freedom to run my business the way I want, to be the kind of leader I want that can help other people. And so that is everything I carry through into my Facebook group, into my business, into the volunteer work I do. So yeah, it's just the autonomy to make the decisions and to be the kind of leader that I feel like I want and I want in my business.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And so many times I say, like, a lot of times being a quote unquote CEO means, being like an artist, and you get to really paint a picture on the canvas that you want. You get to be the leader, you get to be the change, you hope to see in the world. And I love that, just because so many times we forget, I guess, the autonomy and even the power we have in order to write that and create that. But I love that definition just because it hits home directly to that, and also the direct effects of sometimes us being and serving on a really high level can have on the world.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah. I
Awesome,
agree.
awesome, awesome. Well, Lisa, truly appreciate that definition. I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know, and of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Sure. I always love to, it's so funny because when I talk about social media, I think, and I'm going to give you guys like a little bit of tip wisdom from me who's been in it for a while, but I think that the two top things to be on social media are authentic and consistent. And if you can master those, you are so far ahead of the game. And the funny thing is, I was listening to singer Jason Derulo, who has millions of followers on his Instagram, and he was on a radio show, and he said, well, consistency and authenticity are the two biggest things that are crucial to gaining his following. And I said, oh my gosh, me and Jason were tight
You're
on that, right? Yeah.
vibing.
So if you guys can master that, I think you're going to be so far ahead of the game. It's amazing. And then in terms of getting in touch with me and following me, I think you asked that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have a Facebook group called The Engaging Entrepreneur, and it's open to anybody who wants to better learn how to use social media for their business. So we do a lot of fun challenges. I give tips every day. There's a lot of interaction, and that's a great way to find me. And then, of course, my social handles, Facebook, Tira Strategies. I'm on Instagram under Lisa A. Nichols with 2 L's. Twitter, I don't use that much. And then I'm LinkedIn. And I am, if you guys wander to my website, just know that is actually, hopefully by the time this airs, it will have been revamped because it
Nice.
is very old right now. So we've got cool new colors that kind of match that painting there. And
Nice.
yeah, and a big revamp. So we just went through a rebranding.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Very, very exciting. And we will have the links and information in the show notes as well for Tira Strategy. So you can get a hold of Lisa, join the Facebook group, and hear about all the awesome things. And I love that consistency and authenticity message as well, too. I think so many times I say you can't lose if you run your own race. And so many times we're
Yeah.
running somebody else's race, but being authentic to you and being authentic to yourself on a regular basis and a daily basis is so important to being successful, where we're talking about social media or just showing up as leaders in this world. So I appreciate that reminder so much, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thanks. I'm actually going to print that quote out and use that one. I
Hey, there
love
you
that. So
go.
thank
There you
you.
go.
Thank you so much. That's a great one. No, thank you. This has been fun. I really appreciate the time. It's been lovely being on here and getting to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great time. Thanks, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right, and I'll cut it off here. Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh again from the I Am CEO podcast, and I had a phenomenal interview with Lisa Nichols from Tira Strategies, and she provided so much great knowledge and information. And if you didn't listen, to the podcast as it goes live, you definitely go back and listen to that. But if you're just listening to this aspect, I wanted to introduce you to Lisa again. And Lisa, could you tell us a little bit more about you and what exactly you do to help support the clients you work with?
Sure. Thank you for having me on. So I'm Lisa Nichols with Tira Strategies. We are a social media marketing and social media management company, and I've been in business for 10 years. And I help businesses get more visible in front of their ideal client so that they actually can bring more clients in through using their social media effectively, which is where I find a lot of them fall down on the job. And we help businesses by either taking over their social media and developing strategy, creating content, graphics, posting all of it, monitoring their engagement, and trying to engage more with, other businesses and other customers. And we also do it by developing strategy and, just creating a 3 to 6 month strategy, and then having businesses go ahead and take that and move forward with it themselves. So that's a lot of what we do at Tira, and it's all about really getting your ideal audience to be drawn to you through the use of social media, through your visibility and your content, and the way you present yourself to the world via social.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so powerful. And I think you mentioned as well, too, you also have kind of like classes or webinar or something along those lines that you help support those people to be empowered to be able to know how to do that as well, too, correct?
Yes, for smaller business owners, sometimes solopreneurs, I'll offer in my group, I'll offer challenges. I do workshops sometimes. I have working on some online courses that will make it easier for people to just download videos, but that's totally in the works right now. So yeah, so I do like to help businesses by giving them advice and workshops and stuff. And I do public speaking. So if anyone has a conference that they're doing, whether, virtually right now, then I love speaking about social media, and I have some really fun some fun topics that I can go over. So yes, I do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you for expounding upon that too, because one of the things that came up, during our interview was this idea of authenticity and consistency. And I know you said that's near and dear to your heart, and something that came up of people maybe not executing as well as they could from that standpoint. Could you talk a little bit more about that and how we as entrepreneurs and CEOs can make sure that we're being more consistent and authentic in everything that we're doing?
Yeah, so it's so funny. I actually have an authenticity workshop that I do because I think it's such an
Awesome.
important topic. But I'm going to tackle consistency first because that's the first thing. So being consistent on social media, it's more than just posting regularly. It's also being consistent in how you present yourself to your audience. So there's a bunch of different layers about it. So the easiest part sometimes to tackle is how often are you posting? And the thing is, if you're not in front of your audience, they don't see you. And on Facebook, only about 4% of your followers on your business page sees what you post. So you do have to get in front of them on a regular basis to be sure that you are more visible. And it's not you can't just post nonstop all the time. You have to make sure that your posts are relevant and they're not just stuff and they're not promoting your stuff. But I always start with how often are you posting on social media? You should be posting on Facebook 2 to 3 times a week on your business page. Instagram should be probably 5 to 7 days a week. Same thing with Twitter. A lot of people can post a lot on Twitter. If it's just stuff and filler, don't do it. If it's something that's really timely that needs to get out there, you can. But unless you're a news organization, you don't need to be putting stuff on Instagram and Twitter every 5 minutes. And then LinkedIn business pages 2 or 3 times a week. So start with those basics and then figure out, how are you going to present to the world consistently? What's your brand voice? What's your brand tone? Are you going to be funny? Are you going to be, slightly sarcastic, but in a business sense? Are you going to be knowledgeable and informative? Are you going to be really casual and warm? So figure out that tone and then carry that through all of your posts. For me, I tend to try and inject humor. So even my clients, I always talk to them and say, okay, well, I think we're going to use a little bit of humor because that's an area that nobody's really doing much with, but not posting memes all the time, but just having a fun look at life itself. And so I tend to have that voice. So I tend to use that for my clients, but I also try and take on clients that are okay with that too. So figuring out your brand tone and voice and then carrying that through to everything that you post so that you're always having the same type of messaging and same type of way that you come across to your audience. And then there's being consistent in your look. Are your graphics all fairly, I'm not going to say the same because that gets boring, but do you always use the same filter? Do you always put your logo in the same place? Do you always include your logo on your images? Do you use the same font? If you're using background colors, are they the same? So the cool thing about consistency is it lets your audience know what to expect from you. And by being able to have expectations that you meet, they start to trust you more, and that gets into the know, like, and trust factor where they're going to buy from you because they get to know you, they get to like you, and then they trust you to deliver on what you've said. And I think a lot of it's kind of subconscious, but if you always have that same persona and same brand voice and tone and look, they know what to expect from you and they can rely on that. And then they feel like they can rely on you as someone to buy from, that you're not just, a fly by night type of person. So that's the big thing with consistency. There's a lot of levels to it. And I just see a lot of people doing it wrong, where if you're just popping into your social media and posting whatever catches your eye, you haven't put thought into it. You haven't developed consistent messaging. You haven't created a consistent presence, and you're all over the place. And your audience can say that you're scattered. And why would they buy from you if you're scattered like that? Or are you going to treat them that way as a customer? So it all just builds into expectations. And I love talking about expectations.
Yeah, well, that's such a huge thing. And I think so many times people don't realize how exactly consistency manifests itself. So I'm glad you kind of broke that down, bridge that gap, because I think consistency, sometimes when you hear it with social media, as you touched on in the beginning, sometimes it's just how many times are you posting. But, you mentioned filters, you mentioned all these different things. It kind of sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, that it can be something that is basically kind of built from the business, and depending on how and what they want to express, if they're going to use this filter instead of this filter, it's because of something that they created, and then they have to showcase the consistency through their social media and how exactly they're communicating and showcasing themselves.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. And even think about the colors you use. That's why people get branding experts to develop their messaging, to develop their colors. And so everything you do should have those colors. Like all of my new stuff is going to have these cool colors in it because that's my new logo. And so when I create graphics, I use those colors. As background, I use those colors. So it makes you recognizable and, again, reliable. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and people can know, like, and trust, just like you said as well
Yeah.
too. And so I know you said the other thing that was really big that you see that a lot of people don't leverage as much as that authenticity piece. Could you drill down a little bit more on that and tell us how exactly we can do that via social?
Yeah, there are a bunch of different ways you do it. I think first and foremost is, is it a business or a person? And I think that a lot of us can be authentic on social media, but we also hold something back. So I truly believe that need to decide how comfortable you are being visible on social media as a person. And then whatever that line is for you, stick with it. So for me, in all of the stuff that I post, I will post a lot about my animals, my dogs, my cats, stuff like that. But I don't hardly ever talk about my child, and he's 16. He's not really a child, but on social media, I don't put pictures of him. I don't incorporate him to my business, but other people are happy incorporating their family into their public persona. So, and there's a reason that I do it that way. We've had talks about it, and he's in an age where he can determine that, but I've decided that's my line. So I don't talk about him a lot, and I'm fine with that. But I do need to let other people get to know, I need to let people get to know me in other ways. So for me, being authentic is showing people a glimpse of my life, showing behind the scenes stuff, and then just letting my personality come out. And that's being authentic personally. I think that no matter what your personality is, you have to stick to it when you're out there, because otherwise it's going to create this discord and people aren't going to believe you. So being true to yourself is important, whatever that self is. And if you're not happy with the self you're being true to, then you need to do some internal work, right? So there's that. But just being you, and letting people see that glimpse of you on your social media and on your business pages is important. I think too many of us get caught up in the fact that we have to be business-like, and so we can't be fun and have a good time and let humor come out, but that's not the case. People want to see that. So have a sense of humor. I like to use Instagram stories to post ridiculous pictures of my office setup, because sometimes the stuff I have to do is so ridiculous. It's like, why would anybody do this? I remember one year I was doing something in my basement, and I had Christmas look like it threw up all over my basement. And so I had a tiny little corner and all my lights rigged, and they were crazy. And so when I was done, I took a picture of everything from the back of the room where it looked like Christmas had, just was all over the place. I'm like, this is what it looked like. You guys see the really cool white background, and that's it. But otherwise it just looked like a mess. So letting people see that you're a real person, that we all, make mistakes, that we have things happen to us, I think lets people feel like they get to know you. And in this online world, how are you going to get to know people unless it's being real to them on social media? That's the best way we have to be visible, to let our audience get a glimpse of us. And so you've got to be true to yourself. And so that's how you're authentic as a person. But then as a business, what do? You've got to sit down and figure out your values, what matters to you as a business. You've got to be sure that you have a corporate mission statement that carries that through, and then stay true to that. and let people see behind the scenes, let people show people your employees, put your employees on video to talk about it, use testimonials, give shout outs to other businesses. So in those ways, as a business, you're being real and you're showing that you have relationships with other businesses and with other people, and that they're really solid relationships. And those are some of the ways to be authentic as a business, just behind the scenes, testimonials, showcasing your employees, shout outs to other businesses, showing off your charity work. If you do it, it's important. I get so many businesses say, well, that's bragging. We don't want to do that. We're doing that. No, people want to see that. They want to know what you're invested in. You know, they want to know what matters to you as a business, and what you're spending your time on outside of it. So creating that authentic presence as a business can be tougher to do than as a person, but I still think people struggle with it personally, and then business wise they have a hard time too. So just kind of keep those things in mind. There's so much you can look up about being authentic as a business online and how to do it, but in our virtual world, it's the only way we can let people get to know us. And it all goes back to that know, like, and trust factor. So they have to like you before they're going to buy you, and they have to like you, not this thing that you put out there, because people will sense the discord. If you're having trouble making sales, sometimes it's just because you don't resonate with the audience, because they're sensing that you're not really true to it. And I will tell you, I struggle a lot with sales language. And so I think that when I talk to people about it, they can sense that I'm not comfortable with it because it's not true to me. So that's kind of where I fall down sometimes. And so I've got to work on that to be sure that I'm pricing my things in a way I'm comfortable with, that I'm true to myself when I talk to people, and then I'm showing the value that I offer and that I believe in my value.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely sounds like it's a constantly, a constant process that we all kind of have to work on, because I know that a lot of times when you do kind of, I guess, try to figure out what to do on social, or try to figure out how to communicate, so many times we get caught into trying to do what so-and-so is doing and not doing and having those answers within, whether it be our business or ourselves personally. And I love how you talked about, creating that line. But I think too, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like that human aspect, of course, speaks to some of the great things that we're able to do and we're able to accomplish. But I also think it speaks to the things we're not as comfortable with, or maybe even shortcomings, or not so great experiences, maybe failures. I feel like that also is a great way to kind of have those connections, as you mentioned, having the Christmas throw up. I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that and see that. And when they see something like that in a story, I think it creates a deeper connection and maybe a stronger bond overall.
You're absolutely right. People see that you're vulnerable and you're just like them, because nobody's perfect. So if you see someone
Right.
who's perfect, all you want to do is aspire to be them, but do you trust them enough to buy from them? But if you see someone who's making mistakes that aren't crucial to the business, or doing something that's silly, then you tend to trust that person because they're more like you and you can relate. So it's all about being relatable. So being authentic means, I think, that you're more relatable to the people who are that same kind of authenticity that you are. I don't know that that made a lot of sense, but
It does. What is it saying? Po body's nerfic. So
well,
po body's
yeah, right, right, yeah.
nerfic. And I
That's a
think
good
that
one.
exactly. So many times we have those kind of relationships that are so important to us being successful. And that came up, during our nugget that we talked about too, about knowing about that human aspect. And I think that authenticity, it sounds like, is really getting that opportunity to learn about the person, learn about the good, and of course the not so good times. And I think when we have and use tools like Instagram stories, you mentioned, it allows us that opportunity to really connect on an even deeper level and showcase that human side.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. And that's why I love stories, because it's fleeting. So even if you're putting it
Yeah.
up there and it's like, should I really put it up there? It's only for 24 hours unless you pop it into a highlight. So, or unless someone takes a screenshot, which hopefully they're not doing. But
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Lisa, I truly appreciate that deep dive on authenticity and consistency. What I wanted to do, if people that might be listening to this, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you and get in touch and find out about all the awesome things you're working on?
sure, I have a website that is under revision, so I'm keeping fingers crossed. But by the time this podcast airs, it will be my new website, www.tirastrategies.com. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook business page, of course, Tira Strategies, TIRA. And then where I spend my most time online, and I absolutely love, is my group. It's called the Engaging Entrepreneur. It's a Facebook group. It's a private group, but anybody can apply to join. I let everybody in. And what it is in that group, we do a lot of challenges, workshops, and I give tips on using social media for your business. I give people opportunities to go live because I can't tell you how many times I've heard somebody say, I'm afraid of going live in front of the camera. I can't be in front of the camera. I'm not comfortable. So I give you kind of a very neutral place to go live. So we do that a lot, and it's a fun place. The interactivity is great. It's a great audience. So I absolutely adore my group. And I'm there. I hang out online there a lot. Of course, I'm on Instagram under Lisa A. Nichols, same thing with Twitter and LinkedIn.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And again, we'll have the links and information in the show notes as well. And be sure definitely to check out the full podcast interview. But thank you so much, Lisa, for that reminder and all the awesome things that you're doing and providing that, I guess, opportunity or place or space by which we can kind of practice those different social media tools and figure out how we can level up as far as being better social media marketers, I guess you can say. So I appreciate you again, and I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day.
Thank you. You too.